boy. Hi, you guys. Welcome to Dog Hugs. Geraldine, how are you doing today?
Hey, Larry, how are you? Hi, Spider.
Well, we're doing pretty good. Yes, Spider's very happy to see you.
And I was asking why he was so quiet.
That's funny. Yeah, just before we came on air with you folks, we had a moment where Spider was really quiet. Look at that. He's just kind of hiding back there, chilling. All right, well, let Spider chill for a change.
We love that. That's a great quality.
So, folks, one of the big things that we talk about on this show is Petiquette. And Geraldine, I love that you've given that name, to what we're doing here with behavior, Petiquette.
I'm really proud of that one because it is a thing and it just hadn't been labeled for years. Isn't it AKC, a good canine citizen evaluator for the last 17 years or 15 years? I hate looking at those dates. I don't want to know how I've done that. I'm literally part of what we train for, what we want our people to train their pets to be able to do is Petiquette. It's etiquette for your pets.
Amen.
So amen to all those that are working on it, because it's a really great way for us to be able to bring our pets out more with us if they have those manners.
Yes. So today, folks, we're going to focus on one aspect of Petiquette that is really important to all of us, and that is potty training. We're going to talk about pee and poop today.
My dog actually pooped a piece of art the other day and peed on the pad. We're going to get into some really, really great discussion about what I'm going through with him right now. He's just turned 8 months old. He's actually just turning 8 months old, and he's very well potty trained. He's also potty trained inside the house, which means he goes on pee-pee pads. Now, don't freak out, everyone. He's a border collie. And he's a boy, so yes, that could be a very large pile of food, but I manage it walker and drinking. And so managing my border collie during the morning time makes my nights a lot easier. And so we're going to impart some wisdom and some tricks and some suggestions today. If you're having an issue, or maybe you're not, and you want to some issues, because you're going to have an issue at some point. It's not really if you're going to have an issue, it's when.
Really well said. And as you know, Geraldine, and folks, this is important for you. We are asked questions all the time. We call it, in fact, Ask the Dog Trainer. And one of the biggest questions that we get asked is potty training. So if you're interested, and we'll post a link to this, come to the positivelywoof.com website, fill out the form and ask us any questions, and we'll be happy to answer them to you in an email, or we'll be happy to bring them onto the show. And again, one of the biggest questions we get asked is potty training.
Yeah, bring your questions, absolutely.
Yeah. And so you have Senna, who's 8 months old and is in process right now. When I first brought Spider home from the shelter, it took him about a month, maybe a month and a half, to really get dialed in, to understand the potty rules, that you don't pee in the house, that you pee outside. And it took a lot of patience on my part, and it was never making the dog wrong. It was never rubbing the dog's nose in it. That's just wrong.
Old-fashioned thinking. It's old-fashioned thinking. It's a negative behavior, a negative wrapped around something that they don't remember doing anymore, because by the time you find out that they've done it, most of the time they've forgotten they've done it. So then when you rub their nose in it, they go, what does that mean?
So what are you doing this?
Completely confuses them. It actually breaks the bond, that any kind of bond that you had with them, because then they can't understand your communication method.
Yeah. And I understand that we get angry, we get frustrated, we react to that kind of stuff. It's going to happen. And the best we can do is apologize, make up, do better. So, so this starts now.
So the first most important step is if your house is a mess on the inside, maybe your pet's a mess on the inside. So maybe they have a UTI or Giardia, or maybe they have tapeworm. I mean, it can be very easy for your pet to eat a little bit of deer poop and end up with a parasite. It's that fast. Or fox poo, it's that fast when you're out walking. And you don't even realize they've scooped up that little Tootsie Roll and went, whoop.
I've certainly had that problem with spider. And those are isolated and obviously forgivable. They're outliers. They're not a behavior pattern.
Correct. But we want to make sure none of those disease processes are in place while we're trying to potty train, because they make it next to impossible. So if a customer or a dog trainer calls me and says, I don't know what else to do, I'm like, take them to the vet. There is a disease process going on that you're just not thinking of at the moment. And it's causing them not to be able to hold their bladder properly. Or, there could be other things as well. But let's rule out disease first.
Yeah.
Then my biggest number one is, just like with Senna, stick to a really great routine. Write up a routine. I write one up for my clients, and then follow that routine with every family member to the best of your ability, which means stick to that schedule, and whatever that schedule is, whatever it's been determined, don't go modifying it, at least not for, give it a good couple of weeks to start working. So an example is, there are 4 times I know a puppy is going to potty.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're going to have to potty right when they wake up in the morning.
Right.
I know they're going to have to potty after they eat or drink, and probably poo as well during one of those times.
How many minutes after they eat or drink?
So it's usually 10 to 15 in the early stages, and even in an adult dog, it can be 10 to 15. It's the ability to hold on to it and not have to go immediately and then have an accident that's key.
Yes.
So that's a training process, and that's where the schedule helps. And we'll go into more of that part of the reason why puppies have a hard time is they have stretch receptors in their bladders, and they have a little sphincter as well that are not quite developed yet. So they'll feel their bladder becoming full right when it becomes full, and then whoosh. So that's where knowing right when they wake up, they're going to have that whoosh to get them straight to a pee-pee pad or to their designated place in the yard on a leash, preferably at first. So number one is knowing that when they're going to go. So going after they wake up, also having to go after they eat, also having to go after they play. When they roughhouse and get all nutty and squirrely and crazy, or you've trained them and they've gotten nutty, learned a lot mentally, they're going to have to go. So, and it's not going to be 15 minutes after they finish playing, or 15 minutes after they finish rolling around. It's instantly.
Wow.
So just plan on taking them right out.
And folks, I'll add to that, keep a log of when they do go. And a tool to help you keep a log, you can download it directly from the PositivelyWolf.com website. We have free training logs right there for you to download. Okay.
And that's a wonderful tool. The reason why that's such a wonderful tool is as your pet is maturing or aging, as from a puppy to an adolescent dog, you really do want to keep track of what is coming out of them, just like you keep track of what is going into them. That way you can actually possibly circumvent a major health issue before it happens, because you notice those few first times they aren't eating or drinking or going to the bathroom properly. So that's really a biggie. So we're talking about timing. What we've talked about is mostly timing, right? Making sure that you are paying attention. You're keeping that list of what's happening. You're logging what's going on. And it doesn't have to be time consuming. It's really not. But you also have to have that patience factor. I don't know how many of you have taken your dog outside and you're like, hurry up. The dog takes forever. And you're like, and the dog just clamps up.
Spider is smart enough where he knows. And so little by little, when I've got to leave the house in a hurry and I know I'm going to be gone for some hours, I want him to do his business right before he goes. And we have this little ritual that when I do leave the house, he gets some treats right in the specific spot on this platform every time I leave. And he goes, I don't want to pee. I want my treats over on my spot. You know, and so now I have to game him. And the way we play a game is I bring some treats outside. He gets one treat, one piece of kibble. Then he knows he's got to go do his business, and hopefully that protocol stays for a while. Then after he does his business, I reward him. I say, good job. We go inside, and we do our little goodbye ritual. Okay.
2 tips. One, I love the ritual. We'll go into rituals many times over all of our Petiquette sessions. But one tip is calm thyself and be unattached to how fast it's going to take them to go to the restroom.
Thank you. Yeah. If I'm in a hurry and I'm transmitting that to them, that is not going to relax my dog.
And you will they'll end up having an accident after you leave. Even if they do go to the bathroom there, they won't void completely. And that's an issue.
Right. And
2, if you really are having a hard time, and I know that on the Positively Wolf site, we have one of my doggy savasanas, the video for, it's actually how to check your pet for any issues. But I also use that to help calm them before we take them out to the bathroom, because I want to find out what their fear is and help them not feel so vulnerable. Going to the bathroom is one of the most vulnerable times for a pet. Think about it. They mostly do it outside.
Yeah.
They keep behind them.
Mm-hmm.
They also, we have doors on our bathrooms, right? So,
yeah.
Just saying. So if they can have their back up against some bushes or something that you show them you've checked away, that's going to help them. That's why taking them to the same spot in the very beginning every single time with that repetition and consistency helps them feel confident about going to the bathroom right there. You also want them to go to the bathroom on different surfaces. Learn to go to the bathroom on different surfaces. That's why I love the pee-pee pads, because it's a cloth surface. So gosh, what if you ever were, even in an airport, and I had to have them go to the bathroom on one of my t-shirts, I would feel so much more comfortable knowing they were already used to going on cloth. But gravel and dirt, some dogs do not want to, they void their bladders on dirt. So it's really,
we've gotten that question in at Positively Wolf. It's like they won't go on the gravel. So that's a thing.
That's a thing. So what I do is I bribe them. I literally will say, this is the one time in your whole dog training experience that you should rely on bribing as a tool. You want to reward them heavily with, and I don't mean just food bribe, I mean praise bribe. Go crazy. I want you to go, I'm so excited, oh my gosh. Make it into a party, just like you would for an adolescent child. This is a really great thing, because I don't know about you, but my hands hurt already from all the cleaning I've done over the last, 8 months with Senna, 7 months with Senna, and cleaning up, puppy messes often. It's hard on your hands, it's hard on you, it's hard on your house. So being proactive and making it so exciting they want to go outside and taking their fear away is key for saving your hands and saving your house.
One way in which, one of the ways that the question gets formulated is, so I take my dog outside, and then as soon as he comes inside, he does his business.
So that's where she needs to find his fear. He's not peeing outside because he feels vulnerable.
Right.
And if we find out why he feels so vulnerable out there, get on all fours and look around a little bit from his perspective, and then you see the tree that's the shadow from the tree that scares him, or a neighbor's dog, or something he's hearing, a motor that you cannot hear, the high-pitched squealing that he's hearing.
Or the gravel.
Or the gravel. And there are many companies, like one of the most brilliant companies out there delivers a piece of sod to your house. So your dog can pee inside on a piece of sod.
Yeah.
Like that can help. That can help actually teach the dog to be less fearful in the grass.
It's not fake grass. It's an actual.
It's an actual slice of sod in this container, and they just deliver the sod to you and then take the old one away. So the dog will pee on a piece of sod.
How brilliant is that? What a great business.
I love it. It's been a blessing for me to help retrain pets to pee on grass that wouldn't, because a lot of puppy mill dogs won't pee on grass.
I wonder if they have that somewhere in Los Angeles.
They do.
Any somebody enterprising has already done that here.
That's where I used it. The very first time I ever used it was in Los Angeles. So yes, when I was out there training on the houseboat, I was using, because if you're training on a houseboat, you can't just go out your front door. Now, can you? Splash. So I put that on the houseboat.
One leg over the bow. And do your bow wow.
And so turning, so I had to turn that piece of sod into playtime, fun time, tinkle time. Let's play around it to get used to it, just like you play out in the grass. So that's an awesome thing. And also, I'm also a big fan, and hopefully nobody will go, "Ugh." I like to limit their water at night. I do not limit their water in the morning. I limit the amount they drink at once, because you really don't want to make them ill from drinking too much water at once. And also you don't want to give them ice cold water when they're really hot. So I'm always monitoring how much water I give them after a long walk and they're hot. About 8 o'clock at night, 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, they get one big nice drink, and then we have our bathroom time. And I may take them out to the bathroom one more time before I go to bed, especially if I'm going to sleep in. Rituals, if I have a ritual sleep in coming up and I want to, so that's how I handle it. Now, I also will make sure my dogs are hydrated during the day by maybe putting a few ice cube chips in their meal, so they're eating a little extra hydration without drinking that hydration in their meal, just a little in the morning. That way I know they're hydrated throughout on our walk, because we usually will go, like today, we took all 3 dogs for about an hour and 20-minute walk. So they were tight and home, but their tanks were empty.
Yeah, that's great. Another way that the question gets asked is, we just got this new pet from the shelter, or we're fostering, and this dog came with bad habits. What are the biggest reasons dogs get returned to shelters is what they call house soiling. So it's a really big issue, and it takes some patience to retrain. Are there some protocols for that?
Definitely for retraining. And I use most of the exact same lessons for training a puppy as I do for bringing in a foster or a rescue, or a dog or a cat that has that excessive soiling issue. It's a fear issue, or it's a medical issue. So if I've ruled out medical, and then I find their fear and I rule out fear, and they're still doing it, then I know that I have a pet that I'm going to handle in a way where that pet will be, I'll have them on a really great schedule, but I'll also not let them out of my sight. I will contain the rooms they're able to meander around in, and I'll literally follow them around, or they'll follow me around, and I'll not let them out of my sight for about 21 days of reconditioning when it's appropriate. And it's when I catch them doing the wrong thing, I normally keep a few pee-pee pads around so I can put it around them, or I'll use a belly band, or I'll use something else to help save my house. But I'll also be watching them with eagle eye out the back of my head.
Explain what a belly band is.
A belly band is a form of a diaper for a pet that goes only around a boy's their waist, so that when the boy goes to try to lift his leg on your Chippendale furniture, you can save it, because it catches all of that inside of that band. If your pet's had surgery or been on medication, they're not going to be able to hold their urine at certain times. So it's a really great way to help with an aging pet, a pet who's healing from surgery. I don't use them on puppies that often. Usually don't need to, but there's always a situation where it could be needed, especially if a dog is learning to lift their leg for the first time, like Senna is right now. He's now going from his girl squat to his boy lift. So that's not a bad idea. And they do have little diapers for females so that they won't squat and make a mess. They also make reusable pee-pee pads, reusable belly bands that you wash in the washing machine.
I had a dog Gold Retriever Higgins. And when we first adopted him, he would not pee in our yard. It was the other way around. He would only pee in the yard. He wouldn't pee when we were on walks. I thought, how interesting. And I remember finally, it was that big celebration moment. Yeah, where he did a number 1 and a number 2 when we were on a walk.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I also I have a rule with my clients. I have kind of a 1 and done or a 2 and done. So you take them on a walk to a certain area and they pee there or they poo there, and then you walk them back. But you don't let them pee and poo along the way if you can help it.
Oh.
So you can control where they're not marking or peeing on everything, first of all, because then my walk will smell if all the dogs peed all up and down the trail. And I know you can't always stop it.
Yeah.
But I like to get them there, have them do their thing, and then get them back home. And that way I'm monitoring what's happening.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
I also don't like to sniff that much on the trail. I know a lot of people love the sniff game, and there's nothing wrong with that. The reason I don't is we have a lot of wild animals, and I don't want them to scoop up those Tootsie Rolls and end up having tapeworm or something worse.
Yeah.
But I also know that a lot of the animals that are defecating up the wild ones up and down that area have a lot of stress on them because it's an urban. It's right on the edge of wildlife. So we're still urban, but if you go a couple more miles out, you're going to end up in farmland, and those animals are stressed out. So if they end up in my backyard by accident, of course they're going to mark that area, and then they're stressed. So if my pets smell that, then my pets go, ooh, stressed pet, stressed animals. There's something wrong. And then they'll be stressed, and then they might mark more because they smell those pheromones in the other animal's urine, and it hits a sensor in their brain that tells them, warning, fight or flight, some other animal ran away from here earlier today. So I'm really mindful.
Yeah.
Mindful about what I let them do while we're out on our walk when it comes to peeing and pooping and smelling others.
Great. Another way that the question gets asked is things were going really well for a little bit, and then they just went all to crap.
The poop hit the fan is what you mean.
Right.
I've walked into my laundry room and my garage on occasion when I've had a dog doing something and they've had that explosion from fear all over the wall or all over my, wherever. I mean, that happens. And a lot of that can be fear-based once again. So when once again, the best thing to do is to know your pet, know everything inside and out, what they react to, etc. Because something probably happened. It could have been a thunderstorm you didn't put together, the fact that scared them at that moment. My dogs have a propensity. One of them, it was a severe separation anxiety dog that came to me in that condition. So if she ever starts going back into separation anxiety a little bit from maybe someone that visits or something that happens, and then I don't handle her quite properly, she will go over to a pee-pee pad, and when she goes to the bathroom, I can tell it's stressed because she has like a casing around it. It's a typical sign for pets that are having some duress or some distress. That instantly tells me I didn't hear some of the fireworks, or I didn't hear this thunderstorm coming. I didn't have her in her safe place soon enough. Maybe she saw something that happened out on the trail. She's not a big fan of broomsticks. For some reason, when she sees somebody sweeping, that broomstick scares her. So I think it was when she was in the pet store that she grew up in. I don't think they did anything to her. I think that's just one of those things that scared her. So you have to kind of look back in the pet's history of what happened that scared it, that caused it to have the accident, and also how are you going to handle it moving forward? Because the answer is finding that answer is the most important thing. That's what's going to help you get them going in the right direction so that they don't have any more accidents, or they have very few, or they communicate with you to let you know they're about to, so you can get them outside.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges as our dogs get older is to begin to distinguish when is something a medical issue versus a behavior regression. How do we know?
Well, And that's a great question, because there is a difference. If you know your pet and you know your pet's aging and you know what their normal habits are, then when you see those habits start changing, you can tell if nothing else has changed about them other than their health condition, that's probably, and usually the doctor will say that's a symptom, that then, I can always tell if a dog has a bladder infection or some kind of an infection, because they have some swelling usually on right around their wither area. They'll have some swelling down their arms and shoulders. So I can tell visually if they're peeing after they've been outside, they come right back in and pee again, and it looks pretty clear, meaning it's not yellow, it's really watery. That right there will tell me it's probably an infection or some kind of an issue. So I know it's health related. If my own puppy is walking around and peeing on corners of things, he's most likely marking. Now, I can watch him and I can see that he's marking, but I could watch my other pet puppy and I knew when he had a bladder infection. So you really get to know your dog and you'll be able to tell most likely the difference. An example, there was a pet I was training and I thought it was really odd. He was under such strict watch by his family, but yet when I would go over to train, he would go to the door and ring the bell 4 or 5 times to go out and go to the bathroom. And he would go. And
by ring the bell, you mean that there was hanging from the doorknob what we call potty bell? Correct.
So he would go ring the bell, and then he would go outside. His mom would take him out and then come back in, and we'd train a little longer, and he'd ring the bell again. And I'm like, something's not right. Like, this is not normal. I know something medically is wrong. So we knew at that moment, took him in to have him tested, and he had a tapeworm. So he constantly felt like he had to go to the bathroom, even though nothing was coming out, because he felt those little worms moving in his intestinal tract. So it felt like peristalsis, but it was actually the worms. So,
And peristalsis is that process of contracting that
your intestinal tract does for digestion.
Yes.
So with that being said, then if you go to, once again, let's go straight to behavior. So if I have a female dog I'm training at my house and she is not spayed, then my boy dog will start marking things more because he smells her pheromones and he wants to protect the house because he's saying, this is my girl. This is my girl. Stay away. I'm protecting her. So changes around the house can also lead to different behaviors. And if somebody comes in the house and maybe they're not happy, maybe they're giving off a lot of cortisol, that can scare the puppy as well, or the dog as well. And the dog can start regressing into some old behaviors just because a visitor came over or somebody came over and the dog wasn't managed properly during that time.
Yes. Folks, in my dog Trick's book, there is a whole protocol for doing the potty bell training. You can train your dog to ring a bell to when it's time to go potty. And I'll post that up for you guys so you can share that.
It's really fun to have kids help you to do that as a project, have that bell ringing technique. We use it here as well, and it's great.
Great. Another way the question gets asked is, I just brought a second dog into my home, and now things are happening.
Competing potty spots, or they'll pee on each other's spots, or what have you. Well, so if you're going to bring a new pet home, understand you're signing yourself up for the first few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks that they're there, and maybe longer, that you have to actually schedule the pets properly so that they are not jealous of one another. And let them introduce them properly is my point. If you introduce them properly, then you're going to have less of that competitive marking and that competitive attitude, jealousy. I'll even call it jealousy or envy, because my dogs are jealous of one another. Heck, my siblings are jealous of one another. I think jealousy is just a normal human element, and it's what you do with it that matters. So I've taught my dogs that, yes, you can be jealous, but you just have to share. So they learn to share their toys with each other. They learn to share playing fetch and take turns if I don't have both tennis balls or Frisbees with me. So on purpose. So it's really when you bring them in together and they're going to start cohabitating, that we really manage that situation so we don't have those issues.
What are good ways to introduce new dogs, introduce the new dog and the old dog, so to speak?
Well, in the perfect world, I like to have some kind of material that smells like. So for instance, when Senna was flying here to me, I shipped something of mine that smelled like me to Senna. So they kept that in his kennel. And it smelled like me and my other dogs. It smelled like my house. And then I would do the opposite. I would take something from their house and bring it here. So what I did was I had a bunch of stuff from Brazil sent to me so that he would have some of the Brazil smells around. Because otherwise it just smells like America, and it doesn't smell. It smells foreign to him, and he's going to want to mark everything. So I made sure he smelled and had less of a fear level or less vulnerability because he smelled smells that comforted him. So
and
that's
folks, Geraldine did adopt Senna all the way from Brazil, and I believe we're going to have Senna's original dad on the show at some point.
We're going to have not his birth father, but his
human dad. His human dad. Yeah.
On the show soon. I'm excited for you to meet his Senna's maternal mother, her actual birth mother, on the show eventually as well. And so to introduce Senna to my other pet, she's met so many, it was easier. But if you are really afraid of what to do, I'm a big fan of bringing both dogs in and having them in kennels and having them covered and having them both tired, both exercised, both well fed, both as relaxed as you can, and let them be in those kennels with something to chew on so they can smell each other and hear each other for a while. I also like to introduce them face to face, usually at a neutral location, like a dog park or someplace else or a friend's backyard, something. There are a million answers. But I do love for them to meet face to face sometimes and it's a case by case basis. But I do, when I brought Senna home, I immediately had them meet in my kitchen. And I just let him run through the kitchen, and Casey ran through the kitchen and she went, "What the heck is that? Oh my gosh, you brought me a puppy." And she fell in love instantly, and the rest is history. And so that's the perfect world. That's not the normal. But
yeah.
I love exchanging smells because we know how sensitive their noses are and how that communicates with their brain. So using the scent introduction is the perfect beginning.
Yes. So let's talk about puppies. What would be an ideal protocol if I'm bringing a new puppy to my home?
You mean for potty training, for that management?
Yeah, for about potty training, and we can go ahead and integrate it with the whole bringing home your new puppy.
So I operate on a module system, which means I create one module and I repeat it X number of days depending on the age of the puppy. So if it's 8 to 12, 8 to 14 weeks, I will have a 4 module a day schedule, and that module looks something like this. I'm going to be illustrative. I'm up at 6. The puppy goes straight out to the bathroom. I'm not going to pause at the door at this moment because I need the puppy to go straight out to the bathroom.
You're going outside?
I'm going outside.
Oh.
So I'm taking him to the door. I'm most likely carrying him at this point because he's new. Eventually I'll put him down and have him sit for me. But in the early stages, because those stress receptors are not strong yet, I'm going to be very mindful of that and take him straight out and reward him for going and make a big deal out of it and be like, woo woo. I'm going to bring him back in. I'm going to put him in his kennel with something to chew on while I change, because I most likely will jump up and go straight out in, if not my pajamas, something I've planned on wearing the night before, knowing I'm going to have to get up early. Right. And then I'll change and I'll get ready and I'll bring that puppy out. And the first thing I'll do is I'll take him, say, I'm just going to use this for now. I'll take him to my kitchen, and I'm going to let him run around my kitchen a little bit with a couple of gates up to keep him in a contained area. And I'll have a pee-pee pad down, and I'll have a little bowl of water. And as I make something for myself to eat, I'll snack a little bit because I want him to see me eat something and nourish myself first, because his mom would have done that. And then I would use his food, whatever that is at that moment. And I would literally start teaching him to come to me by saying his name, roll over maybe I'll do a little bit of watch me or focus on me in some fashion, and I might even start a little shake, and that would be the 4 things I would start working on: his name, coming to me, maybe teaching him to lay down because that's vulnerable, and then a shake because that's vulnerable because he has to learn to balance and look at you.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'd be using his food. I would give him a drink of water, put him in his kennel downstairs in that kitchen area so he could still see me while I finished cleaning up and doing whatever. I'd set my timer for 15 minutes, and then I'd take him out to the bathroom and praise him. Then bring him back in, and I would put him immediately back in his kennel with something to chew on, cover most of the kennel except the very front, and I would go about my morning, whatever that is, while he learns to take a nap for the next hour.
Very
good. And then I would repeat that exact same module 4 times until he's about 4 months old, 3 months old. Then I knock it down to 3 times a day, and then I eventually knock it down to 2 modules.
So 8 to 12 weeks is the time when a puppy typically gets adopted, or you said 8 to 14 weeks, and then you're saying up to 4 months, which is up to now, if I'm doing my math right, 16, 17 weeks.
Correct.
And now you're downsizing. Well, you're going from 4 times of those modules down to 3 times.
Correct.
About how many weeks down to 3 times, and about how many weeks down to 2 times?
And that's breed specific. So my border collie was able to go down to 2 modules by the time he was 5 months old. 2 modules, where most pets don't, they would need more. He was able to go down to 2. Now I choose not to do 2, but I was able to help teach him that composure. Reason being, I wanted him to take longer naps. He was growing so fast, and I knew that I was teaching him so much. And you imprint a dog's brain better when you get them, then they get that nap in between. There's also another reason. Our hearts are only engineered to beat so many times. So if you're going to wear your dog out with its heart beating constantly and it never gets a nap where its heart gets a lower resting rate and its brain gets a chance to detoxify, and also its brain gets a chance to remember all the things that you just taught that pet, it will not live to its longest ability, its capacity, or its lifespan. It'll be shortened because you've not allowed it that break. And it won't learn as well because you have not allowed that break. It also won't be able to learn potty training as well because it's discombobulated. It doesn't have that consistent routine. And that's where those modules help force you onto a routine, because you know exactly where that pet's going to be at each time, and you just check off the list essentially.
Great.
I hope I answered.
Yes. Another question is, I live in an apartment. I've only got so much space. Now you have the great idea of if we can actually get a piece of sod in some kind of a potty pan, like a kitty litter pan.
Yeah.
What are some other options for apartment living?
They have many companies make an artificial turf portable potty that's actually works.
Yeah, beautifully engineered. In fact, the potty sits on top of some gravel, so you don't feel the gravel, you just feel the turf, and that gravel has a drainage system built into it. It's really wonderful technology, all inside of a nice tray.
Those are fantastic. When I had my cat, I taught him to pee in the toilet. So I used one of those litter pans that you actually put in the toilet, and you train your cat to tinkle in the toilet. And I'm not there yet with Senna. I don't have a bathroom right now that has enough room for him because my water closet's small, so he can't really fit in there and lift his leg yet. But he's learning about it.
Uh-huh.
There are many other options. There are some a kitty litter for dogs. So the dog actually goes into the litter and can pee on that surface, which is not a bad thing at all. They do make one that's more gravel-like, but they make one that they have different types. I believe they have like a one that's cedar, so it smells. I mean, they smell wonderful.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've talked about the pee-pee pads. There are the ones that are more like a baby's diaper. And there are also the ones that are more like a reusable cloth that you can wash in your washing machine. There are urine eradicator products out there as well for when your dog does miss the pad or does have an accident on your beautiful rug. There are some wonderful enzymatic companies out there that use enzymes to help break down the urine and literally eradicate it so it's not urine anymore. It turns into nothing.
Are you talking about products like Nature's Miracle?
So Nature's Miracle is one. There's another one I love called Unique. There's one. They're out of Colorado, and they make more than just pet cleansing agents. They have quite a few different types, and there's also one called Biomatic, and that's a really wonderful one as well. So there are many different companies that make what I'll call urine eradicators to help you clean up. Also, if your pet has stained your hardwood floor because you have a rug down and you didn't know they had the accident, and then you lift up the rug and you go, oh, my floor's ruined. Well, I'll give you a little DIY tip. It's not ruined. And Larry and I will I'll make a little film of how to do this later, how to fix a spot, because I have one of those spots, and I just thought about it the other day that I should make a little DIY. You're going to take a hydrogen peroxide and a Q-tip, and you're literally going to dab a little hydrogen peroxide on that pee-pee spot, only on the area where the color is changed, and you leave it for a set amount of time, and you wipe it up, and your stain is gone. And it's a lifesaver for all of you out there that have hardwood floors. I know Sandy Robbins was asking me, how do you handle your hardwood floors and dogs? So we'll be giving you some more DIY tips on how to fix some of the issues that are going to happen, because they're going to happen. So
thank you. That's really helpful. What about old school, just newspaper down in the home?
You know, I've used it. If I go to a hotel room and I know I can't get him sent outside and the weather's bad and all I have is a newspaper, absolutely. You just have to pick it up right away because it will soak through eventually. So that's a down and up. And you can shred newspaper and put it in a box and put your pet in a box, and your pet can have an accident in there safely if you get into a situation. So there are lots of options. And
then back to the puppy scenario for a moment. Let's say we're crating our puppy, and then we want to make sure that the puppy doesn't pee or poop directly in the crate. That's inadvertently teaching the puppy that it's okay to pee and poop where you live. We do that by accident.
So I agree with you. Are you speaking of the kennels where you put the pad on one side, or the X pen where you put the pad on one side and the food on the other?
Well, you're getting into actually the correct way to do it. Let's say we don't have what's called an X pen, like a playpen area that's attached to the front of the kennel. But we don't want our pets to do their business directly into the kennel. We want the pet to go outside to. Jerome was suggesting an X pen, a playpen area, where there's a section of that is specifically the bathroom.
Yes. If your pet is soiling in their crate, most likely it is a separation anxiety issue, meaning people are freaking out because they're new to your house and they're in their kennel and they're like, ah, and they're having an accident because they can't hold it. It's not because they're wanting to. Pets don't want to go to the bathroom where they live. That is a no-no in their instinctual brain, going back to primal thinking. Because when they pee, they're peeing out some of their pheromones and hormones, right? Which other animals smell, and it tells the other animal's brain, ooh, there's a dog over there. They don't want that by their bed. They want it away. So they want to go away. If it's happening in the kennel, then it is an issue of a behavioral issue where it's freaking out, and we have to reframe that and handle them in a different fashion. Or it could very easily be a medical issue.
Well, I love we've come full circle to ruling out the medical issues.
Besides medical, really quickly, a caveat is food. Maybe your pet has an allergy to something they're eating. My dog was allergic to salmon, and when I would feed him salmon, he'd have a terrible time. So I realized I had to rule out salmon. And once I ruled out it was salmon, I had to take that out of his diet, and then he had no other issues.
Excellent reminder. All right. Well, that covers everything you always wanted to know, but maybe we're afraid to ask about potty training. Shelter shout out. My shelter shout out today goes to the Latham Foundation. And you perhaps heard me talk about them on the show before. They're more than 100 years old. They were founded in 1918. I mean, think about what the world, or even understanding of being kind to animals, was like back in 1918. They were really ahead of the game, and bravo to them for keeping going and doing such great work for the past 100 years and being able to recognize so many shelters for doing such great work. Yeah.
Bravo.
Anybody else you're thinking about today?
There's always so many, always. My shelter shout out is gonna go straight back out to all of the, across the country, seriously, to the humane societies across the country. It's just, I know it's so, there's so much going on, and there's going to be so much change coming up here. So we are trying to be the best resource we can for you, to help you as a newly adopted family of a shelter pet or a foster, to help in any way we can, because we have absolutely no idea what's around the corner for our pets. And I'm just praying for all the Humane Society shelters out there to be ready, and we're here to assist in any way we can.
Continue on that theme. Anybody you want to give some special gratitude or blessing to today?
Wow. Well, another, always a really tough one, because there are so many people on the list. I'm going to thank show my gratitude to my professors at my university. And actually all of the educators out there that are trying to figure out a new way for us to come together this August for schooling. It's going to be a challenge. I'm really excited, but they're working so hard day and night. Dr. Scott Helm, who is the head of the Block School of Management, where I am attending courses, or will be this coming August, and everyone that surrounds him making decisions on how they're going to handle social distancing. And we're lucky because we're some of the first, we are priority, our group is priority when it comes to being able to meet in person, and we actually have the space to be able to meet in person. So my gratitude goes out to how they're working so hard to bring all these kids and college children, everyone back together.
Yeah, such a challenge. I mean, these multiple contingency plans that they're having to make. Gee, do we rent space? Do we not rent space? Do we have people at home, not people at home? I mean, gosh, the multiple scenarios that they're having to deal with is amazing right now. My two nieces are of college age and are dealing with that right now. They don't know if they're even going back to for the first time to their respective college campuses. You know, and my sister, who's a college professor, they don't know. You know, another friend who's a college professor, they don't know. They're just doing these multiple scenarios right now. So yeah, bravo to all our educators. Yeah, all of the people who are also in public schools. And you know what, Geraldine, I'm going to share that with you. You know, I did get to speak about my nieces, my sister. You know, big shout outs to them. And it really occurs to me to really thank all of our elementary and secondary school teachers and administrators, that just everybody who's around there who are trying to figure this out. And, you know, come, a month from now, it's going to be go time. And they're going to be having to make some big decisions. Yeah. So blessings there.
Well, hopefully we were able to shed some light for all of you today on different potty training techniques, tips, suggestions, something that might spark you to go, ooh, now I know the answer, or now I'll try this, and have some success, because I know that a lot of animals are brought back to the shelter due to excessive soiling issues, and many of them end up house cats at, you know, veterinarians' offices, etc., because of that. And God bless all of them. But yeah, hopefully we're able to help you with some suggestions today.
Amen. Well, thanks so much, you guys, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Big hug. Bye, Geraldine.
Bye. Bye, Larry. Bye, Spider. See you soon.